Welcome, Wineiacs, Wisdom Wanderers, to another rousing edition of Wine and Wisdom, episode 8. And we brought back one of our most phenomenal guests of all time. Guess who's back? Back again. BCS is back. Big Chris Stud. How are you, my friend?
I am great, but this time I actually have wine.
He's done it, folks. Exactly. There it is. That's the whole reason we have him back, let's be real, is to show off that beautiful bottle of vino. So without further ado, let's get into the show because, yeah, that thing is sexy. If this is your first time listening, watching Wine and Wisdom, I am your host, Matt Kane, and this show is all about drinking wine and talking about life, getting to know people on a deep level, and seeing what exchanges in dialogue and conversation, what wisdom nuggets we can pull out from those dialogues, those conversations, to enhance our lives, to make ourselves better, and to make a little more sense of this mess, this absurd dance, this play we call life. All right, let's get to it. By the way, actually, let me do this first because I always neglect to do this. You can check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, wherever podcasts are nowadays. Plus, you can watch us. Hopefully you are watching us on the YouTube, as they say in England, tube. Leave a like, subscribe, tell a friend, leave us a rating, spread the word like gospel. All right, let's get it going. No one gives a shit what I'm drinking because I'm drinking wine. What is this? Winemaker's Selection. Hold on a sec. Let me turn this light on. Look at this. I forgot to turn my light on. There it is. Okay, now you guys can see me in 1080p resolution. 4K is coming, just not yet. So let's turn that down just a little bit. I don't want to look like mayonnaise here. All right. Now we're clicking. Now we're banging and clanging, brother. So here we go. We're in my cardigan, my Sean John cardigan, drinking wine
with mine on
with my Hobie. I know, right? That could be the thumbnail. Both of us holding our bottles with our cardigan.
Pause it real quick. Just pause it.
All right, I'm pausing.
I know exactly where it is.
All right. Now we're talking, baby. We're twinning. Yes. Sexy. I should let my hair down. Damn. Now, if only I was like 5 inches taller, 6 inches taller, whatever, we'd really be twins. So anyways, what was I saying? I don't know. Who cares? I got winemakers. I talked about it last podcast. No one gives a shit what I'm drinking. I'm just going to pour the bitch. Wait. Oh yeah. We got to do our thumbnail. Hold on a sec. Hold on. Wait. Or should I hold it on this side?
Wherever it's going to be.
Okay. We got it. Thumbnail in the books. Okay. What are you drinking, dude?
So I have something that was targeted to me on a targeted ad that, according to their website, I illegally purchased. It is Cavs Cab. So it's from Knocking Point Vineyards. And in Walla Walla, Washington, they also made the Chris Jericho champagne, a little bit of the bubbly. And when you go onto their website to order this, it says, are you located in Northeast Ohio, Western Pennsylvania, or Southwest New York? And based on NBA rules, if you are not from those locations, you cannot buy it. So I just put yes, and then that was it. That was the only screen to get past it. They didn't check anything. My billing address, they said you could ship it anywhere in the country, but your billing address was supposed to be for one of those areas because you're not allowed to market like specific merchandise outside your team's market.
So what was the last one? What area of New York?
Southwest, like Buffalo.
Okay.
Basically like Cleveland to Toledo, down to Columbus, through Pittsburgh, all that. Because then you get into the Knicks territory, and the other way you get into the Pistons territory.
Okay.
So for some reason, like you could buy a jersey from anywhere, but you can't buy like something like this because like, I don't know if you're not allowed to market wine or because it's alcohol or what. But so I ordered it, got it here, got 2 bottles. The label's done by OK Pants from Cleveland. And on the back, it's described as Cavs Cab, the official wine of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Knocking Point Wines and the Cleveland Cavaliers commemorate their partnership with this one-of-a-kind exclusive Cleveland original. The artwork was created by local Cleveland artist Aaron OK Pants Seacrest in combination with the Cavs organization and creative team. Cavs legend Austin Carr personally curated this very special wine blend sourced from the highest quality Cabernet Sauvignon grapes from Washington State, and each bottle sold will raise money for the Greater Cleveland Food Bank. We can proudly say that every part of this wine, from its contents to its label, was inspired by and created for the land. Enjoy. And then it's got Austin Carr, Stephen Amell, Andrew Harding, and Aaron Seacrest's signature. Andrew Harding's the guy who's the Cavs creative director or whatever.
Okay.
They've been doing all kinds of weird stuff since he got appointed. And
Weird
Stephen
stuff.
Amell, well, weird, like trying to make it like more artistic because it's like the team's not that good. So what
They
else
gotta
can
do
we do to
stuff
reach
to get
out?
butts in the seats, right? Or make noise. I get it.
Yeah.
And Stephen Amell, the guy from Green Arrow.
Yeah, he's the owner of Knocking Point Winery. And obviously he got hooked up with Chris Jericho through Cody Rhodes. So
makes sense. Well, that's cool. So it's just called, does it have a name or is it just Cleveland
Cavs Cab?
Oh, Cavs
It's
Cab.
Cavs
You
Cab.
said that. Cavs Cab. Oh, that's genius. That's good marketing. Like wine and wisdom. Cavs Cab. You can't beat alliteration and rhyming.
And this is definitely a sweet label. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And
Are you sure you hold on? Are you sure you want to drink this shit?
I got 2 of them.
Oh, attaboy.
And the other one I'm saving for when they win the championship again. So it might get pretty dusty.
So yeah, let's hope not too dusty. I have a bottle of champagne on ice still from when I thought the Indians were going to win the World Series, but we don't need to pull off old wounds. Let's not talk about that, right?
I got 2 bottles of the little bit of the bubbly left, and I was saving one to have with you guys, and then the other one I'm gonna probably have when my kid gets here. So
right on. Speaking of, well, actually, did you pour it yet? Let's go. Let's rock and roll.
I was looking earlier for a corkscrew, and my wife's like, it's just a twist off.
Same here, yeah. Oh man,
that's why I said I'm looking for something to open it with. I think that's texted you.
I want to know. Remember, you got to sniff, right? You got to sniff. Yep. How's the bounty?
I don't know enough about wine, but it smells pretty good. The thing is too is I drink so infrequently right now that like 2 glasses of wine is probably get me under the table at this moment.
Let's hope. I want some good stuff here. No, I'm just kidding. You always bring the good stuff, but I want to know how that tastes because I might have to purchase a bottle.
I think you should, as a wine connoisseur. It's something you could enjoy.
I'll probably get 2, one for display, one for consumption. But it's a Cabernet. I like Cabernets a lot.
It's nice low calorie wine.
Absolutely.
It's much easier to fit this into your diet.
And you can,
me personally.
Well, and you can also say, you're getting your flavonoids, your antioxidants, right? Your artery scrubbing chemicals. So it's healthy, right?
Yes, sir, Mr. Stallone.
Yeah, that's right. Hey. All right. Anyways, let's get into the show, folks. Let's start off. And so the goal is obviously this is your second episode, so I'm not going to start off with the routine questions that we normally do. We're going to have to talk about all kinds of different stuff. So you can go back into the archives, baby. Was that episode 4, I believe you were on? 4, whatever. But yeah, so we're going to have to talk about some different things, like some stuff that I took notes on, like this first question here. I want to talk about, let's get mystical, baby. Let's get mystical, daddy. So I want to talk about mystical experiences or planes of reality and all that fun stuff. We've talked about astral projection and all that good stuff. Have you had in your life any mystical experiences that you can recall?
Probably. I guess I should have thought back on this more before. When I was a kid, I used to have out-of-body experiences all the time, and I just chalked it up into like stuff that everybody had happened.
And I believe you mentioned that last podcast about floating out of your body, going downstairs and hanging out.
Oh yeah. I was sick, really sick. I just remember I was flying around and my parents were all worried, and I thought they were worried because I was flying around, but they were worried because I had pneumonia.
Do you think you died like for a second?
No.
It's interesting.
I didn't feel dead at all. So no, I don't think I died.
Were you sleeping?
I'm not sure. Honestly, I just remember the feeling of being above myself while they're sitting by the bed and then flying down the steps and then going
Yeah.
downstairs around and then coming back up. It could have only been a little bit of time.
Yeah, that's pretty fascinating. You know, uh, I've had a couple like weird experiences out of body. They mostly have been like when I've been in the zone, if you will, flowing in like a physical sense, like working out, or there's been times I've actually been filming a fight scene and it was like I was watching it. It was bizarre.
Oh,
But I was like, you know what I mean? Kind of hovering. So, but it's not something that like that you can hit a switch and do, which, is interesting because certain like Indian mystics and uh, deep devotees of that kind of art, supposedly they can do that. They exist on many different planes. So I guess my question for you is, what do you think about that? What do you think about different planes of reality?
I'm open to it.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I used to feel like stuff like that happened all the time. And I think it probably did. Maybe it happens to everybody. And then when you get older, you just shut that part off. You get more grounded into
Yeah.
what's around you.
Yeah.
Because I remember my aunt used to teach dance classes, and I took dance class as a kid, and we had a recital. And I remember I saw it from the audience while it was happening.
Yeah. Very
That's like
similar
the flow
experience.
state. You talking about like a flow state, sometimes even just playing video games or playing basketball, and it feels like everything can go in. It's not even like you're still conscious, but it's like you're not thinking about it. And that's part of why you're in such a rhythm, because it's like, oh, everything I'm going to shoot is going to go in, because you're completely removed from the thought process that would
Yeah.
set negative feedback. So that doesn't even have to be like some supernatural thing. It could just be, in that aspect, you're so in the zone. I mean, it's a studied thing, right? Flow
Hmm.
state's a proven
Absolutely.
thing.
Yep.
And it's like we've all been there. Like I remember playing even intramurals. The one game, I just felt like the basket was as big as the ocean
Yeah.
because everything's going in. And then there's times like I don't even remember how to shoot or walk. It
Yeah.
feels like.
What's dribbling? I don't even know what that is. Yeah. It's interesting, and they have done studies. Sports psychologists have talked about flow state and what you can do to tap into it, and visualizations and things like that. But I guess I'm coming at it more from like a kind of spiritual standpoint, in terms of like viewing different levels of reality that you can simultaneously be on, like
Yeah.
whether it's in a physical reality sitting here, whether I'm in a mental reality, an astral reality, a spiritual reality. Pretty interesting. Whether it's like, what is it in X-Men, the Cerebro,
Hmm.
right?
In the
Where
movies, just
what's that?
connected to everybody, like in the
Yeah, yeah,
movies.
yeah. To me, that's always fascinated me. Being able to, I can't remember. I was trying to think of the exact specifics of this story, but there was a guy. It was in India, and I feel like all this shit happens in India, because obviously India is a very spiritual country.
Yes,
Actually, one.
yes.
What's that?
I said yes, yes.
Yeah, my my Tai Chi instructor back in the day, he would go to India every year, right? And he would go, and then he would like almost he would go, that he would come back and almost die, in terms of like he would get so sick that he would be basically bedridden for 2 weeks. But to him, that was worth it, just for the
Yeah.
experience. But so anyways, he would tell me this story about, he met this guy who he was like a shop owner, and he had a son who was like kind of, he didn't know where his son was, or his son was like doing something bad, so shit he wasn't supposed to be doing. His son was probably like early 20s. So anyways, so the shop owner went to this local uh, guru and said, hey, can you help me with my son? And essentially the guru's like, what's his name? Tells him his name. He goes, okay. And then he kind of disappears. He like kind of walks into his little like hut and sits there. And then he comes out and talks to the guy and says, your son, he's here, and he's doing this and this. He misses you, and he'll actually come see you very soon. And the guy's like, yeah, okay, whatever. So like a couple of days later, he gets a knock at his door, and it's his son. And his son was at a town, that was like hundreds of miles away, that would take like 2 or 3 days by train. So literally, he says to his dad, he goes, hey, a man who was dressed like this, and he's talking about the guru. He goes, he went and saw me. He said, you wanted to see me, like, and they basically rekindled their father-son relationship, right? And he goes, so the father was like, how the hell was that possible? In that moment, he was right there, and then they traced it. So literally, when he was talking to him, that's when the son saw this guru, right? So his astral projected or whatever in that moment to tell him, hey, you need to go back home and visit your dad. And pretty wild, huh?
I mean, that's an understatement.
Yeah, an understatement. But what is fascinating is like how possible is that? Because the way I look at shit, I used to be very much a skeptic, and I think a healthy amount of skepticism is definitely keeps you grounded, right? But what I'm starting to come around to is like our brains are so finite, right? We know, like, if the universe is as vast as it is, we are a speck. We know this much. It's like we're a subsystem of a meta system. How can the subsystem come and understand the meta system, right? There's just so much we will never know and understand in this lifetime.
Well, yeah, your brain could be like the equivalent of a single cell making up the bigger system.
Yeah.
And one of the things that's definitely true is, and this is very crude, I guess I would say, but if you've ever been like drunk or really stoned or something,
Not me.
yes, I know you never have, but
I've
your
never
mind,
eaten any marijuana cigarettes or whatever Bob Backlund said.
oh yeah, you could still in the moment you can feel your presence like shifting away from your brain, not like saying like an astral projection, but you could tell like it feels like you're riding in a car, but then your brain is turned off so it's not recording anything, so you're still moving but the brain isn't functioning in that aspect, so afterwards you don't have a memory, but at the same time when you're deeply in that state it still
Yeah.
feels like you're still driving it, even though it's not reacting the way you want it to. Like you can have super clarity of thought and it just doesn't transfer the way you talk or move. Like my brain is
Sure.
working fine, my thought process is working fine, but then when I talk, I'm like,
Yeah. Oh, dude, I have a very recent story about that actually, but we won't discuss that. The what was I going to say is, it's certain you know it, certain Indian and Buddhist mystics will say that, like, basically people that can do that, these gurus, if you will, that the anyone could do this,
Mhm.
but the reason that they're able to do it is because they've gone through all the shit in themselves. They've burned it all, so that there's nothing that's clinging them to this plane. You know what I mean? Like, they have no. That's why they fast, meditate. Don't they just isolate themselves because they're trying to purify themselves so that they have no desires, no clinging to this physical reality, this mental reality, so that they are able to then go to a higher level of reality where anything is possible, where they are one with the universe and everything. And when that's possible, then you can astral project and you can do all these fantastical things. Pretty interesting. I
I
mean,
guess
it kind of makes sense, right?
no, it does make perfect sense.
Yeah.
I sit here looking at my video game wall and I'm like, I guess I'm never going to be able to astral project.
Yeah. Right. I know, man. Do you have to give up lifting weights? That's what I want to know. I think
I,
I could do
I
it,
don't
but if
I don't think so, because when I'm lifting, like you said, it gets you into like
yeah,
you could be almost in a meditative state.
right. But you're connected to your physical body, right? You
That's
have to let
true. You
go of that, man.
got to have that mind muscle connection or else you're wasting your time.
I know. I'm too worried about striations instead of spirituality.
I'll wait till I'm in my 50s then to give
Yeah.
that up. I'll still work
60,
out, but then you can be
60s.
yeah,
Because you'll be taking
65.
your Progenics, your TRT, like you're gonna be
TRT for
jacked, and
sure.
you're
Yeah.
gonna be
Get in that
jacked
clinic.
into your 50s and 60s. It's happening. Because anyways, and we had this discussion last time, I believe, where if you look at like a 40-year-old now compared to a 40-year-old 20, 30 years ago,
Oh, for sure.
way younger.
Yeah.
I don't feel like my age. When I look back on my parents when they were my age, like, I felt like they're way older than what I am now.
I've been giving it a lot of thought because like last time we talked about how people are like, well, you just once you get that age, you just think you're younger than you are, and everybody's like that. But then the Super Bowl happened, and they showed all those shots of Tom Brady at 43, and shit, the last oldest quarterback, who's George Blanda, was 43, and he looked like my grandpa. My memories of my grandpa when I was a kid, and I was like, they're both the same age. Like, this
Yeah.
is insane. And back then it was like, this dude's so old at 43 playing, and now it's like, yeah, Tom Brady's old, but he was never like the top athlete, and he hasn't really lost. He didn't have zip per se on his throwing arm. He
Yeah.
throws just as hard as he did then,
Right.
and you could take care of yourself better. And I think people are tricked because they're like, well, this is going to be the first generation that dies earlier than the previous generation. But at the same time, if you take care of yourself now, you have proper nutrition, you can proper working out habits and all those things, you can delay
Yep.
your aging. But the problem is there's some people doing that, but there's way more people doing the opposite that are
Yeah.
getting, and this isn't some sort of fat shaming thing, but it's like you be heavier, have metabolic stress on your body, you have all sorts of other issues. Lots of people don't have health
Yeah.
insurance, so you can't keep as on top of those things. So it's almost making a gap between like, there's some people I know who are 35 that look like they did the 35-year-old would in 1980. And there's other people I know who are 40 that look like a 22-year-old would look like in 1980. And it's hard to reconcile that. And some of it's just genetics and bad luck
Yeah.
and sun
Sure.
damage and stuff. But a lot of it is, if you just have a little bit of discipline to take care of yourself, you're
But
better off. And I think one of the things too is, I don't mean to cut you off, but I will forget this point. Um, I look back at our generation, and you look at millennials who right now this year are turning 40. So the oldest millennials are 40 now, the youngest ones are turning 26. And most of those people are not having kids until their 30s, mid 30s, late 30s. I'm having my first kid. I'm in my mid 30s. My wife is a little younger, but she's going to be in her mid 30s. And our parents had kids 10 to 15 years before we did. And also, when you're in that situation, you're less likely to have your life under control. You're less likely to have your
yep.
finances under control, your nutrition, all those kind of things. And everything becomes more stressful. And that also ages you as well.
I agree with every single one of your points, and I think it's the proliferation of education, knowledge, uh, and the best practices for all of those things. Whether there's nutrition, training, and the educational pieces on like, yeah, waiting later in life so you're more financially stable. This and this has less of a strain because there's the biological age and the chronological age and all that shit. But I think, you know what I think Tom Brady's secret is, though? You know
What?
what it is? He makes out with his kids. Did you see that video? You know what
No,
I'm
but
referencing?
they
Oh
think
my
he's on that
God.
adrenochrome or what?
Well, so
But
there's a video, guys. You can Google this. I'm not throwing shade, and I'm not here to judge, but it's
yeah.
it's a little bizarre in our culture. Tom Brady's laying. This was probably a handful of years ago. He's laying down, getting a massage, right? So he's just in his skivvies, and he's getting a massage, and in walks his son, and his son is like, "Hey, can I go? I don't know, do something, right?" And his son's probably, I don't know, somewhere between 10, 11, 12, and his Tom's like, "Yeah, sure." And then his son goes to leave, and he goes, and his son like does this and turns and like reluctantly looks back at his dad, and he's like, Tom goes, "What'd you forget?" And his son kind of puts his head down and walks up towards him, and then while he's getting a massage, they just lock lips. Like he gives him like and it's not like it's like and then they go like they hold for like a second or two, dude. So that's, I don't know, maybe that's his secret. I think Tom Brady sold his soul to the devil in order to,
Well,
and
it
this
makes
is the
sense.
trade-off. Like he's eating his son's soul, or maybe that's what it is. Maybe he's doing that. But I don't know how the hell I stumbled on this on TikTok. It was Tom Brady's like morning routine. It's like, and we're talking about this, all these vitamins, all these supplements, he's got this like super foam roller for his foot that he does every morning to hit the fascia on his plantar fascia, all this shit, like the top, like all his chia seeds, all his green powders and all this shit, right? So he goes, "This is my morning routine, guys." And then I'm like waiting, like, when's the kid make out session? When is that? I know it's kind of fucked up and gross, but it's just bizarre, and I had to address it. Plus, I'm not here to bash Tom Brady. Of course I'm not a fan. Fuck Boston sports. And I'm not here to judge, but still, like come on, you got to admit that's a little out there.
I mean, it makes sense. All the other guys who are still like making all-star teams in their 40s looked like physical marvels, and Tom Brady has zero muscle definition. He has no
he
looks like a guy who's never worked out in his life. He took his shirt off on Saturday Night Live, and he's like 35 at the time, and he looked no muscle, no nothing.
Like kneaded over, like you take, you open up the biscuit package and it like plops out and it's just like that white dough. That's what his physique is.
Yeah, he's not even a dad bod. He just looks like a guy who never worked out.
No, I can't get, and his physique, I will say this, his physique is the exact same from the scouting combine and like, 2000 or whatever. I mean, they show him, it's just like sad. And he's running the 40 and it takes him like 10 seconds. He's like, and you're like, this is going to be the greatest quarterback of all time. Okay.
I mean, it just shows how much of it's mental, but
Exactly.
it's like a baseball pitcher. Like those guys all do not look, not all, there's some that are in great shape, but a lot of great pitchers didn't look like athletes. And like David Wells said, he's not an athlete pitcher, like he's big fat guy smoking between games, but he could throw that ball hard. And that's all that matters.
That's it. Speaking of mental, you said it's mental, right? With Tom Brady. I want to talk about a little bit. We didn't get into this last time. So I want to talk about mental health, and you and I both have had, and everybody has issues with mental health. We all have minds, right? Mm-hmm. So how do we deal with our mental health? But I know that, you in the past have had issues with mental health. If you don't mind sharing anything on your experiences, with some mental health things, with any depression or anything you want to talk about, if you want to speak on that and how, your struggles in overcoming that.
I mean, that's very broad question, but okay.
Okay, I can specify. All right. Yeah. I just was going to I was going to throw out a bunch of balls and see which one you wanted to catch. Right. But I guess my question is, I know you've dealt with depression. So my thing is, how have you worked through that? What techniques, what things have you done to work through that, and how has it changed you?
So I had a very bad bout. I guess it would be almost 7 years ago now, or I guess technically almost 8. And it took me like 6 years to get over it. And it was very hard and very bleak at times. And I'm not the type of person to be like suicidal, because not that I'm an optimist, but I always am like, it's better to deal with what I know than take a risk on just ending it all and shutting the lights off for good. So I won't say like I did obsess about dying, but I didn't think about doing it to myself. It'd just be like, I'm going to die. Like I'm going to die. But that wasn't like I wanted it to happen, or I was thinking I should kill myself. But it was really bad when I moved to Chicago, and I was away from my wife for the first time after we were married. It had been married for almost 2 years then. So it was like, not like I wasn't used to doing everything with her. And I was in a new city and I had no money. I didn't have a job. I like got very agoraphobic and down. And basically like I didn't leave my apartment for the most part for like 7 months, except for like to get groceries. And there was a point where I was like selling my Xbox controllers to buy food and stuff. And it was a lot worse looking back on it than I realized. And it set me down like a really dark spiral where like everything was bad. And so I was like, I got to do something and get help. And I started taking medication. And the first medication I got on was a nightmare for me physiologically. It pretty much like, without exaggerating, it was pretty much like it castrated me chemically. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I got you.
So I was like, I don't know if this is going to help, but I'd rather be depressed and have a working dick than, than not be. And just be like, I'm done having any sexual desires for the rest of my life.
Then so you could astral project though, because then you're not tied.
Right. To it. I should have stuck to it. So then I tried a different medication, and it's supposed to be one that has very little side effects, but it caused it caused huge anger problems. And without like it's nothing I've really ever discussed publicly before, but it was very close pretty much to like ending my marriage. And at that situation, it would have been then it would have been bad because I was already like really low. And then if I had to get divorced because of the way that stuff made me act, I would have been like enough to just send me over the abyss. So I was like, all right, I stopped taking that. And then nothing was really working. So I decided to start going to therapy, and it didn't work. It's not magic. You don't like fix your issues. It just gives you ways to cope with them. And then I eventually, after years of that, and getting having discipline with like a workout routine definitely helps because that gave me like as long that was just a good step. A lot of people don't like working out. I didn't like working out when I was younger. I hated it and I was embarrassed. But this time, since I was at the bottom, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to start at the bottom. I don't care if I can barely bench the bar at this point. Like, that's just what it is. And the one good thing about getting that low is it pretty much stripped my ego of like everything
Mm.
I had. So it's like I could go to the gym and I could bench 45 pounds starting out. And it's like, that's all I can do. That's all I can do. And there was a lot of opportunities that I passed up on before because I thought I was above them. And I had a bad attitude that went along with that. And I missed out on other stuff later on because my attitude was so bad. And at that point, I was like, I'm in my 30s now. Things have not worked out the way I thought they were, and a lot of it is because of my attitude. And while I was still depressed, it was like, all right, so I have these coping exercises. I have this therapist that's helping me work out why these are problems. I have this routine. I go to the gym and I get this, and it's like once you do that, and I can see results going on that, it's like, all right, everything else can. This is why I'm a big fan of working out for a lot of reasons, but I think everybody should do it because you get that. All right, like progressive overload doesn't apply just to weights; it applies to everything in life. Like,
Yep.
okay, so now I couldn't even do 45 pounds for you know, uh, 10 reps. And I was thinking like, if I could get to 135, it would be easy. And now like 135 isn't even the warm up set, anymore. You
Yep.
know what I mean? And that's
Yep.
really, you think about it, that's like 3 years. It seems like forever, but then at the other end of that 3 years, and that's with me not working out for 6 months due to COVID, it's like, you're still so far beyond where you started that when you turn around, it's like, oh, I got out of there. And once I finally humbled myself and realized like these opportunities didn't happen because of the way I acted, I overlooked them and didn't. I rededicated myself to just starting over in that. And then a lot of the best experiences I ever had in Chicago, well, pretty much all of them were after this. Like, so I might have been older, but probably like after 2018 is when 2017, everything started turning around. And once you get a few positive things to build on, that really helps. So like, yeah, I could probably still use some medication, but right now there's no too many side effects and I don't really want to mess with what's working. And if I wasn't in a better state, like this COVID year could have absolutely destroyed me. And I think the fact that it hasn't is a good sign.
Yeah. Well, first off, thanks for sharing all that stuff. Obviously very personal details, but I'll say this qualitatively. I know I definitely notice a difference in you. Obviously, I don't know things to that extent, not living with you, being your
Mhm.
spouse and all that, but I know, that you as being such a close integral person in my life. Like obviously, I know you on a very deep level, and I noticed a shift within the last few years, right? And not even, and we don't even live in this, same state. We live hundreds of miles away, now thousands of miles away. So I noticed just a shift in you. And, granted, we see each other maybe a couple times a year, like in person. And I just noticed those differences. So kudos to you on that. Also, I agree with your points about training. For me, if I didn't work out, if I didn't train in martial arts and all this stuff, I'd be miserable. I'm just going to be straight up. Like it's an outlet for me in many ways, for aggression, for it's we all have these like bound up pieces in our being, if you will, that have to express and get out. They have to manifest somehow. For some people, it's lifting weights. For some people, it might be beating their wife, right? As extreme as that is. But, you know, we all have to get that shit out of our system somehow. So for me, being able to express myself, being able to physically work out, do martial arts and things like that, it keeps me in a routine set pattern, which helps. But it also gives me that physical outlet, that manifestation for releasing anger, releasing some of these things that I think, like you said, every human being needs to do that, because we have bodies, don't we? Right? So we need to honor what we have. We need to honor our body, clean up our temple, so to speak, and honor it and keep it in the best shape as possible. That's huge. That to me, mind and body, there's an intrinsic link there. So one affects the other, doesn't it? Right? Like the old saying, you look good, you feel good, right? So if you are happy with how you look and how you feel, I think it's going to have a great effect on your mental health. Another thing you also said, and kudos to you, because you have self-awareness to understand that you have these issues going on, and that here's what we can do to rectify them, right? That I need to take better care of myself, do these things. But you also mentioned humility, right? And kind of squishing down your ego. That's a big thing too, in, you know, people overcoming stuff like that, because you have to humble yourself. You have to start at rock bottom. How many people don't want to do that? They don't want to go, fuck, like, I'm a loser, right? I'm at the bottom. Well, fuck it, I'm not even going to try, right? But kudos to you for being like, yep, here I am. Now what? There's only one way only one direction I can go from here, right? I can only go up. Yep. So, hell yeah, man. Like, that's awesome, you know? And one thing that helped me, because I've had my issues, we probably haven't talked much about this, but I've had my issues. Like I said, we're all human beings with a mind. But I've had my issues with depression, with diminished self-worth, right? Even through all of that stuff, even while training and working out, one of the big things for me was falling in love with myself again, and understanding, yeah, you know what, self-acceptance. There's a quote, one of my quotes I live by is like, all spiritual life essentially is self-acceptance. So being able to accept who you are, the good, the bad, if you will, if you can even call it bad, but just like the nuances, the things that make you a unique being, I think are so important, right? But one of the issues is, especially with our culture, is everybody is just in comparison culture. Like, well, this person's got this, she's got bigger boobs, he's got more muscles, like he's got more money, he's got this flashy, nice car, right? We compare ourselves to who we want to be instead of appreciating who we really are, right? And honoring who we are, man. So falling in love with yourself, which it seems like, I guess that's what I'm saying is in a summary, is like, seems like that's what you've done again, is like, it seems like you love yourself a lot more now. Like, just by looking at you, dude, you're jacked, you're tan, you're juicy as fuck. You're looking great, man. You're going to be a dad. Like, you're
more
kicking ass.
For sure.
What was that?
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, like, you know, I definitely tell qualitatively that, you know, you're loving yourself more, man. So that's, like I said, that's what worked for me. And I feel like if people direct more of that inner energy inward towards who they are and accepting who they are, I think that goes a long way. And again, kudos to you for taking, going and getting therapy and things like that, addressing the issues and humbling yourself in order to become better, man.
And there's two caveats I'd like to throw in as well.
Okay.
Another thing that really helped me was playing basketball again. Like, once I started playing again, even though I was really fat when I started and everything, I was like, oh man, I forgot how much I love doing this. And that was big. And even stuff like simple, like playing video games, it's like, instead of being like, this is a waste of time, I'm like, well, I really love playing video games. So if I play them for 2 hours a day, it's not necessarily a waste, because if I'm going to waste those 2 hours just sitting around watching TV or being on my phone, I might as well do something I really want to do. And also, this doesn't apply for everybody, but I don't have addiction issues, which a lot of people do. So if you have those, I think that changes your outlook on how to deal with things completely. Because I know a lot of people that have like drinking problems, and they stop drinking, their lives improved immensely. But by the time I was at my lowest, I was not drinking whatsoever. So it wasn't like I could say, oh, if I just stop drinking, things will be fine. It's like, well, I'm not even drinking. So then that's harder because you have to think about what you actually have to do to make yourself improve. So in some ways, dealing with addiction is 1,000 times worse. I don't want to make it sound like it's not, but at least then you know you can change that, and that will get you started on a better path.
Absolutely. And speaking of addiction, the last episode that dropped was an episode with my dad. So go back, guys, and check that out because that's all about addiction. The story of that my dad has is pretty incredible. So if you are somebody that has dealt with addiction, is dealing with addiction, know somebody that's dealing with addiction, it's amazing his story and how he's come around on that. So yeah, great points, man.
It's never too late
Yeah.
to change.
Never is. That's what's so beautiful about life is I'm not a big fan of this saying, but it applies here is like, today is the next day for the rest of your life or whatever. Right.
The start of the rest of
The
the
start
first
of the
day.
first day, whatever. See,
Yeah,
I don't even like it that much of a quote. I didn't memorize it, but on one level, it makes a lot of sense because life is continuously changing, right? We can always change. We can always regress. But that's what's so great is we don't have to be like a slave. We don't have to be living in chains to the past, right? And let it define us. Yes, it's important to honor the past, not forget, but learn from those lessons and then overcome. So many people are a slave to the past. So many people are just so tied up in who they think that they thought they were instead of who they need to be.
One thing that's also helped is like you can't go back and change anything. I
Exactly.
can't look back and be like, wow, the person I was supposed to be when I was 25 that all these people thought I would be, I have not become. And most of it is my fault. I mean, pretty much all of it is. But that doesn't mean like I'm in a better place now for it. So who's to say if things went that way, I would be alive even.
Right. You'd be Chris Farley, right?
Well, I mean, hope not, but you never
In
know.
terms of, yeah, you know what I mean. But yeah, it's interesting, I did want to talk about a little bit about change. I heard this story recently, and I feel like telling it on my podcast.
Okay.
So it's about how things, when something you think is a perceived negative turns out to be a positive, right? And we've all had that in our lives. But anyways, this was a farmer in the Cossack Mountains, right? And right around, I think, World War One, he had a beautiful horse and it ran away from him, right? And his neighbor came up and said to him, "Hey, man, that's really unfortunate. Sorry to see that your horse took off." And the farmer said, "You never know." A couple of days later, the horse came back, and with it was a beautiful stallion, not an Italian stallion, but a stallion. They came with it. So now he's got two horses, right? So the farmer goes, "Man," or I should say the neighbor says to the farmer, "Man, that's some great luck. That's really awesome." The farmer says, "You never know." The farmer's son one day jumped on the stallion and was riding it, trying to tame it. The stallion kicked hard. The farmer's son fell off, broke his arm. The neighbor came up to the father and son and said, "That's unfortunate. Your son broke his arm." The farmer said, "You never know." Soon after that, the government was coming through the region and they were conscripting troops to go into the war, right? They stopped at the farmer's house and they saw that the son, who was of fighting age, had broken his arm. They said, "We can't use you for the war." So they kept on going, right? So I guess the moral of the story is you never know. So I heard that story and I was like, man, it's interesting. And you can apply that to life in so many regards.
It reminds me of a episode of Showtime at the Apollo where the guy came out dressed as a Riddler and the crowd started booing. And the host said, "Give him a chance because you never know."
You never know.
And then
Was
he
it
came
good
out and said, "I'm a nurse." And people booed more. And he said, "I'm a male nurse." And they booed even harder. Then he danced to Michael Jackson's Smooth Criminal while the crowd started going, "Get off the stage."
I gotta look that up.
I'll send it to you.
That's
I
hilarious.
laughed so hard watching it.
You never know.
But you never give it a chance because you
You never
never
know.
know. And it's like everybody's favorite musician could have been somebody you were annoyed by when the first time you heard them. You never know.
You do never know. I'm sure people give you a lot of guff over liking Kid Rock so much. I'm sure you never hear
Yeah,
the end of that shit.
it doesn't matter. Like I'm not approving everything he's ever done.
Right.
Like whatever.
I'm with you. I love a few of his bops, man. They go.
It's it's hard for me to like reconcile here, and it wasn't even like when it came out, so that's a bad example. But it's hard for me to reconcile the way Devil Without a Cause made me feel when I was 18 with the person he's shown
Yeah.
himself to be since. So it's like whatever.
Yeah.
It's not up to me to prove it. And that's why some people have a very hard time separating the art from the artist. But unless they're a truly terrible person,
Yeah.
like that art already exists. They were this person before, or they just because they show who they really are later on doesn't invalidate the way that artwork made you feel.
Exactly. Yep.
Doesn't mean you have to continue to be their patron, but
yeah. What's the old saying? Never meet
your heroes.
Never meet your heroes. I don't remember. I remember hearing a story about was it Joe? Someone met Joe DiMaggio, right? They were like, Joe DiMaggio was this guy's like hero. He was God. He was such like a big baseball fan, and Joe DiMaggio was this guy. Well, I guess he met Joe DiMaggio, right? I think it was Joe DiMaggio. It could be Mickey Mantle. I don't even know. But anyways, we'll go with Joe. So he meets Joe DiMaggio, and he said Joe was basically a dick to him, right? And so he goes, well, Joe, like, okay, can you give me an advice for life? Like, you know, he was like young and he wanted to get into, I think, baseball as well or whatever. Can you give me advice? And I guess Joe goes, you know, kid. I don't know, this can be my Joe DiMaggio voice. You know, kid, if you marry a girl, make sure you marry a girl with small hands. That was his advice. There you go. Right.
No, I have a similar story to that. I was
Oh boy.
in high school playing JV basketball. My favorite player at the time was Lamont Murray on the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Sorry, I know this story. That's why I'm laughing. Go ahead, let it rip.
Me and my buddy Kurtz would always be talking about Lamont Murray. Like we were the only two Lamont Murray fans. And I remember he had a dunk over Dikembe Mutombo. We talked about it for like a week.
Yeah.
And he was going to do a signing at the Stowe Giant Eagle. And I was like, I'm going to go up there. I remember telling him in practice, I'm going to go up there after I get home. And I'm going to ask him about the Dikembe Mutombo dunk, how it felt and stuff. And so that was like in the morning on a Saturday morning. I get home at like 1, I get dressed. I go walk there. It's like 1.5 miles. It's not that far, but you know, I'm too young to drive, but I don't have a way to get there. And I'm like, I'm not missing it. So I get there and he's going to be there from like 2 to 5. And I get there at like 4:30. So I'm like, perfect. I got plenty of time to ask him about it. And there's nobody there but him, nobody there to see him get his autograph, just me. He's sitting there at his little table with the person there. And I was like, oh man, Lamar Murray, you're my favorite player. And he goes, thanks. And I said, oh, what about that dunk against Dikembe Mutombo? That was awesome. And he's like, yeah. And he signed it and he just passed the paper and immediately turned to the person like from the Cavs organization. And I will never forget that because I was the only person there. He's stuck there for another half hour. He can't leave till 5. All he has to do is indulge this stupid ass 15-year-old and answer his questions and just be like, you know, if he would have said like, yeah, it was sweet. It felt awesome. Like, thanks for being a fan. That one sentence would have been enough.
Yeah.
But the fact that he's like, yeah, thanks, and just passes the paper and goes to talk to whoever's from the team with him. It's like, there's nobody here to see you. I walked 1.5 miles, which is not that far. So I don't want to make it sound like a big deal. Like you could have at least not been like, I'm not even asking for him to take a picture with me. Like it was before we even had like cell phones and cameras and stuff like that. Like, I just wanted like one little sentence would have been enough for a
validate my
like,
existence, you motherfucker.
It's like, I've been rooting for you all year. This team sucks. I watch all the games.
Yeah.
Like I'm in high school. I don't have that much. I mean, I have a lot of free time, but it's like, I can't control when I'm home. I'm watching every game I can on Fox Sports Ohio. the team was a
yeah.
year away from winning 17 games or whatever, 2 years away from it. They won like 24. It's like, Jesus, man, whatever.
His ego got in the way, my friend. You were just a whatever. No, you're
He
just
wasn't even an all-star. He was
I
just a
know.
starter.
That's the thing. But
He's
he's
the guy averaged 15 points a game. It's too good to say something.
I have very vivid memories of, I think it was his first season with the Cavs, and the games were on board 43 WUAB. You remember that shit?
Oh yeah,
And
I remember staying up to watch the Kings game at 10:30 at night.
That's where I'm going with this. I stayed up to watch them play the Clippers. Two like the worst teams in the league, right? And I have very vivid memory of Pooh Richardson. Right?
Oh man, yeah.
I remember him crossing Lamont Murray over. That is burned into my retina. We were at my grandpa's house watching the game on TV, like in the shitty, little TV. I'm like really into it, and I'm like, what? Looking back on it now, the Clippers, Pooh Richardson, Lamont Murray, shitty Cavs, WAB. It doesn't get any better than that.
Well, that's why he became my favorite player, because there was a game where he hit a game-winning three-pointer with 0.5 seconds left that actually led to the NBA changing the rules to say you had to have so much time on the clock to get an actual shot off. And if it was less than that, you had to give a tip. But he was on the Clippers, and clearly he was a prick, because when the Cavs played the Clippers the first year, like you're talking about, after they got him, the Clippers were out to stick it to them hardcore. And then meeting him later, it's like, oh yeah, he probably was a prick in the locker room too.
Yeah. Man, God, good times, dude. That's something you needed. By the way, folks, Chris Clem's Cavs Cast, I don't know if it'll ever be back on air. Only this man knows. But
I keep wanting to bring it back, and then I'm just like,
but anyways, I'm giving you a cheap plug. Go check it out. Maybe if he wants to, I don't know. But what it would be a good idea, and you did this, and I was really into this when you streamed the playoff game, the Cavs, like 98? Against the Pacers, and you were doing like commentary. I think do classic Cavs games throughout the years, and don't even do a podcast. Well, you could make it a podcast, whatever. Like put it on YouTube, make it a video podcast where you and like another guest or two, like maybe me, I don't know, but you go and you do like Mystery Science 3000 commentary over these games. Boom, you got a winner.
We did commentary in Kent at the Stone Tavern live, and it was a big hit.
Great.
It helped the Cavs won the first time we did it. The second one I did, it was really funny, but they lost, and the recording got fucked up, so I never even was able to do anything about it, which sucked, because that was probably funnier. But the first one was a better one to listen to because they won.
Because they actually won. Yeah, that was good times. But
I need to get a maybe with this Stimmy money, I'll get a capture card, because I think part of the problem was streaming and recording on the same computer was making the audio and video go out of sync. So
I can send you a link. I got one for like $150. It's a really good one. So. But we're not here to plug.
I sent you the Riddler one, so
let's see, where are we gonna go? You talked about we talked about it, or maybe I talked about, I don't know, advice about Joe DiMaggio giving advice. What is, if you can recall, what's some of the best advice somebody has ever given you?
If people have asked me this before, and the problem is like I don't really have a good answer for that. So I guess what I'll say is just humble yourself to the process, whatever it is. Like, just don't overlook things because you think you're too good for them, because that comes across in the way you portray yourself as well.
Yeah, I would agree.
With being as vague as possible, there was something I did where I was definitely talented enough to get it 100%, but the way I acted with the people who were less talented reflected negatively, and it was like, I'm not talented, and no, really not many people are. I'm not bigging up in myself here, but no matter how good you are, or how good you think you are when it comes to performing, not necessarily sports, because you can overlook being an asshole if somebody's a good enough athlete, but in terms of like performing, creative arts, if you look like you're going to be hard to work with, they'll go with somebody who's less talented but is easier to work with every time.
100%. And here's why, especially in the in performing arts, especially in the entertainment biz. If you look at, somebody's, whether it's film, whether it's television, how many hours are you on set with these other beings, right? And in listening some podcasts on these with these experts, and I've had minimal experience on sets. I'm not saying I, by any case, am an expert. However, I would say that the people that you like to be around, that you're going to be around with for hours, days, weeks, sometimes fucking months, and you need to see this person over and over again, it doesn't matter how talented you are. They have to like you because they have to tolerate you and put up with your bullshit, right? So if you're somebody that lifts the experience, is easy to work with and get along with, right? And contributes to the overall positive environment, and you're somebody that they enjoy being with, they would rather have you than somebody that's way more talented, right?
Yeah. And I think the problem with me too is I think I actually am fun and easy to be around, but it's just sometimes it's hard if you're just judging somebody based on an audition or like a show
Yeah.
you watched, you
You
can't
can't
tell
get to know
that.
the root of that person through that,
Yeah.
right?
So you can only go by, okay, this person comes on stage and acts like an idiot,
Yep.
and the person that's supposed to be performing with them, instead of just supporting them despite them being an idiot, is like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever
Yes.
seen. That's all your glimpse you get. That's all you go by. And unfortunately, I had to learn those lessons the hard way. But like I said, I think I'm very easy to deal with and fun to be around, but you're not going to pick that up in 20 minutes.
No. And now I see why like certain directors work with certain actors over and over again, and why they use the same crews, because it's like these are people that, number one, they like to be around, and I think number two, a big thing is they can trust them. They know that
Yeah.
they're going to deliver. They're not going to be a malcontent, not going to show up drunk, late to set, what have you. So I get it. I used to be like, what the fuck? Why? Like, it's like an exclusive club and I'm not in it. What's up with that? Well, now I get it. I get it. I mean, I'm sure there's still a little bit of like that ego of like exclusivity, but like I said, the big thing is just being somebody who you're going to be able to tolerate for months on end, hours,
That
and in a high stress environment where everybody's on edge. Maybe they've been filming all day. They're tired. They want to go home. Like somebody's, the director's being too demanding, whatever. Somebody you want to get along with those people to help you. You're all, when you go to make any piece of art like that, whether it is a film or it is a television show, you're going, I don't like to use the term, but like you're going to battle, right? So like you want to have soldiers, your fellow troops with you, who you can count on to get that job done.
To add on to that, this is some actual practical advice. Every single person is going to book their friends.
Yeah.
Don't complain about it.
Yep.
Just accept it and be aware of that moving in.
Yep.
That'll save you a lot of heartache, because you just forget about that. Don't even complain about it. It's not fair. It's not right, but that's going to happen. So just move past that before you even worry about it.
So when
before worrying about anything else.
Yes, I agree. And I've done the same. I've casted my friends, no doubt. So when COVID dies down, are you going to be hitting up those parties in the Hollywood Hills? Try to get in.
Give me an invite. I think at that point, I'd probably rather just be home with my kids. So.
Yeah. Right. Or maybe you see somebody at Equinox Fitness and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to talk to them. And then you become best buds.
Yeah. Maybe I'll upgrade my membership, go to Equinox and where all the celebrities are at.
I just know that that's like a brand name out there.
Oh no, it's true. Like that's where like the big stars go. Like
yeah.
I'm working out at like guest star and extras gyms right now. You know what I mean?
I was thug number 6 on Bullet to the Head, right?
I've seen YouTube people at the gym. I've seen wrestlers at the gym. That's the kind of celebrity like at my level.
C-list and
that I'm
D-list,
affording to non-Hollywood celebrities, and
yeah,
basically that's what both sets of those are.
I was thinking about this the other day because I watched the Night Stalker series on Netflix, and I was thinking about you guys a little bit because he did kill somebody, I believe, in Glendale, and it was just interesting, just like that whole vibe and scene. I just go there just to people watch, to see, to feel the vibe and the experience, everything. Not even just like to try to get into the entertainment biz. I don't even know if I really care about that as much anymore. But just to like just to like, I want to see freaks rollerblading down, the
Like go to Venice Beach.
Yeah, I just wanted just for like the show, just to people watch to see, just to see all the characters, man, would just be really entertaining to me.
Well, as soon as this is over, you better get out
I'll
here.
be out there. WrestleMania 40, right? Or whatever. I don't even know what number.
It's not next year, it's the year after.
Okay. I forgot. Isn't WrestleMania like coming up?
Yeah.
Aren't they having it?
We're not going.
Clearly. But isn't it in, aren't they having it in like Tampa Bay?
Yeah.
And it's going
to
be
want to sell 45,000
Whoa.
tickets.
That might be a super spreader event, brother.
75%.
That's a super spreader. Well, it is Florida, so whatever. Par for the course.
I could really get into a tangent, but it's definitely not that I don't like wrestling, because I think I probably like wrestling more than I have in like 25 years. But this will be the first WrestleMania not only do we not go to, but I won't even watch.
Whoa. That's serious, man. I didn't watch the last one, so.
I did.
Yeah, I had no desire. I don't really care. To me, and by the way, fans, just to let you in on the secret, me and this guy and a couple other my homies, we go to WrestleMania every year. We didn't go last year because of COVID, but we've gone to.
We had tickets though.
We did. But how many WrestleManias have we gone to? Like, I know I went to one less than you guys because I didn't go to the one in Miami. 10, 9, 8?
10, 9.
Yeah, that's a lot. So to me, it's the first couple was like, yeah, I want to go. It's wrestling. It's WrestleMania. This would be awesome. Now, yeah, it's still a spectacle. It's kind of neat. But to me, the main thing is just seeing you guys hang out with my buds. 9. To me,
I just counted the cups in my office.
It's just, I just want to see my homies and hang out and have a good time. I was drunk. I was shit-faced before the show even started. The last time we went in New York, I don't even remember the show.
That was a mistake, but whatever.
Yeah. But I had fun. I had a blast.
I had a blast, but I just remember the complaining because I was yelling the F word too much at Triple H.
A little. Maybe we might a hair.
The thing is, if we just stuck to how it was before we got there, it would have been fine. But it wasn't like we did that and then just had Bud Lights there. Yeah. It was like somebody snuck in a bottle of vodka and that just took it over the top.
But I have fond memories from what I remember.
Oh, I remember the main event, and I remember waiting forever to get out of there.
But, yeah, that's true.
I don't remember like an hour and a half of the show, but I was clear-headed enough by the time the show ended. I remembered that part.
Yeah, good times though. That's all it really comes down to for me, is just being present with friends and people and enjoying that experience that I don't get to, I don't get to hang out with you guys often and so like I really want to just enjoy it as much as I can. I'll say this, like my laugh bank fills up.
Yeah,
so that it carries me for like the next few months.
It's funny because I was watching this documentary and it went to New Orleans and I was like, man, I just miss hanging out. I miss hanging out with friends. It doesn't even matter if it's like good stuff in New Orleans, just even like hanging out in the hotel room was fun.
That's the best shit.
I have people. Oh yeah. Well, I have people say stuff. I don't mean to cut.
No, go.
I just have people saying stuff like, "Oh, I'm drinking too much during quarantine and stuff," and I'm like, I can't even just sit here and have a beer because I'm like, I don't miss drinking. I miss hanging out with my friends.
Socializing.
Drinking is something we can do while we're doing it, but we don't even have to. It's just like if I drink a beer, I'm just like, oh, this would be so much more fun if I was hanging out with my friends. But instead, I'm by myself and being online and stuff. It's just not the same. It's like you got that energy of being in the room.
Yeah. Objectively, some of the best moments of my life have been hanging out with, us fellow degenerates, man. Like whether it's jamming to Rebecca Black's Friday in the car on a, 15, 16-hour drive to Atlanta, or hanging out, like you said, in the French Quarter, almost getting arrested, right? Shit like that.
That was
great times.
Or the second time spending 3 hours looking for somebody that just disappeared off the street. I'll leave it at that.
You drink wine, right? Or champagne? What was it?
Yeah, it's the biggest mistake of my life. Not even kidding. Like I didn't realize I was opening the door to something self-destructive.
Pandora's box was open, my friend.
The only good thing.
It's like people that like do Ouija boards and shit. It's like they're trying to commune with a loved one, and like a fucking demon comes in through the door as well.
That was the first time we were there. Yeah.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, the second
New
time, that
Orleans.
was when we caught somebody tried to steal our phone and delete the pictures.
Oh my God. Yes. Oh my God.
The
Yeah.
second time was
And that was actually our second time there.
yeah. The second time the house was nice. And yeah, that's why I'm getting that confused. We've gone together 3 times. And the house, and we did a comedy show across the street. That was fun. Anyways.
Fuck yeah, great times. But anyways, you know, a lot of that's inside baseball, so we won't go too deep. But
yeah, plus it's
yeah, 2 questions. 2 questions, homeboy.
Yes, sir.
All right. This has been a lot of fun. What is something that, because the last year was definitely a pivotal, I think a pivotal moment in the human beings, the human condition on this planet. I mean, every day is, right? We're all humans. We all understand. But last year was obviously like the zeitgeist was like, you know, everything was on edge, and it was like, it seemed like a period of change and shifting in the collective consciousness, I guess, if you want to say. But what is something that is a glaring issue in the human condition that you see, and how can we solve it? I know that's a really broad, large question, but what is and you can just pinpoint one problem that you see, and how do we tackle that?
Too many people engage in tribalism to the avoidance of shared factual reality.
Care to expound upon that?
I don't really have an answer because I think people are too entrenched, but it says something where if you have it, this is just something personally. If I have a fact or feeling that is different than what is espoused on a lot of the media sources people consume, they immediately tribalism, especially to exclusion of facts or shared like reality. If I say something that's not what is, disseminated on a lot of media sources, I'm immediately told like stop watching CNN or MSNBC, and then like I don't watch them. And so people dig into like what they think, and they think whatever is different is the opposite. And it comes down to like whatever you get your media source, you can find something that's your flavor. I had a guy argue with me about how we should reopen everything last summer and masks don't matter. And he shared an article about 2 hairstylists who had COVID that worked on 87 different clients, and nobody got COVID. And the article, coincidentally, from Ben Shapiro's website, neglected to mention the fact that every single person that was there had a mask on, and so did the hairstylist. And I'm like, yeah, but if you look up the original article it's based on, it's saying that. And I'm not saying it's like even like all conservatives are wrong or whatever. It's like that on both sides. You can find things to the exclusion of a shared basis, and whether it's politics or like sports or anything, things you're allowed to root for your team when it comes to sports, but we should try to get out of that from every other aspect of our life and just try to find what's actually accurate and go off that, instead of only indulging in things that feed our feelings that we already feel. I don't need to be right all the time. I'm right enough as it is. I have Facebook memories to prove how what my track record's like. Right? I've been on point for about the last 5 years. So I'm good.
Yeah. I would agree. The problem is so many people are caught up and entrenched in their position that they're blind to it, that they blindlessly follow that. It doesn't matter. They're going to do whatever they can to support their position, whether right or wrong, and not even, like you said, not do the research to understand, right? Because I'm to me, and I've said this before, like all I dedicate to, all I want to honor is the truth, whatever, however that is, however you want to define that. That's all to me that really matters. So the problem is, I don't like when you're presented with new information, new knowledge, I think you should change, right? I think more people need to do that. But the problem is, I don't know whether it's ignorance is bliss, whether it's laziness, unmotivation, or people just don't give a shit. But ultimately, when you're presented with new knowledge that disrupts your current reality, you should have, or maybe it's even lack of self-awareness, but you should be motivated to change.
Yeah. And it's like, you should always be open to new ideas. And I
Yeah.
know, like, when you get older, there are things that happen to people's brains. Like, if you're 60, I'm not expecting you to be open to everything, but at least be aware that you're not as open to everything.
My other guest took offense to that.
That's right.
Pop in for a sec. Are you 60?
I'm 63.
He took offense to that statement.
I'm just saying, you can't control what happens with your operating system, or your hardware you're working on, but you can control you can control your operating system.
You can control the software though.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, you can't upgrade your computer,
but you can put in new microchip, like you can put in new floppy disks.
You can put in a new operating system. Yeah. It's like his computer was still built in 1958, but he can still get that 2020 operating system.
Absolutely.
It's not like computers. You don't go obsolete that fast if you're a person.
Yeah. And I'll say this man is definitely a man that adapts with the change, right? He does. He has a YouTube channel. He does all kinds of, young, cool, hip shit. So anyways, but that's Darth Jim, by the way, guys, if you don't recognize him. Go back to episode 1 in the archives.
Bubbly Barefoot Moscato.
That's right.
Yeah, that's it.
Bubbly Barefoot Moscato. But this ain't the Darth Jim show.
I think one of those things goes hand in hand with that is we need to stop saying that's youth things. It should be everybody.
Exactly. I completely agree. No matter what your age is, you can change and you should change. Like Bruce Lee said, to change with change is the changeless state. How about that? There you go. You should always be adapting, always be open. It doesn't mean you accept everything that comes in as gospel truth. Like we talked about at the outset about having a healthy amount of skepticism. Absolutely. Run it through your filter, your barometer, but have enough self-awareness to understand when you're presented with new information that, hey, I can change my perceptions that my hooks were dug into, and maybe soften up the hooks a little bit. You can still cling, you can still hold on to the ledge, but don't have a death grip, right? Be ready to fly and spread your wings when you need to. How about that? Okay. Anything to add, Chris?
No, you just said you had another question.
Yes, I do. What a great guest waiting patiently. Last question. I asked you this last time. I asked Chris, aka CJ Clem, comedian, stand-up, improv master extraordinaire, actor, screenwriter, beautiful human being extraordinaire. I don't want to ask Chris Clem this question. I want to ask Big Chris Stud this question. This is his
always step over the top rope. That's why Shaq don't know how to work, brother.
I saw Shaq was in AEW. That's interesting. But anyways,
he was awesome in it, actually. But
it worked,
that's actually something the Big Show said backstage, that he was pissed that he walked through the ropes instead of over the ropes. You don't know how to work, brother.
But anyways, I'll say this. I've never seen Chris Clem and Big Chris Stud in the same room. That's all I'll say. Doesn't mean it's the same person. It's probably because I think they'd each be too intimidated by their machismo that they don't want to create like a warp in the space-time continuum. You know what I mean? Like a black hole, because just too much testosterone in
only one silverback at a time.
That's right. They would kill each other. You're right. Only one can have his harem. You know what I'm saying?
There's only one Jupiter. The rest are all second best.
So my question for Big Chris Stud is, what would Big Chris Stud, the aging, I don't know how old he is now, but he's up there. He
worked in he's probably about Darth Jim's age, honestly.
So
maybe a little older.
What would Big Chris Stud, what is his ultimate wisdom? What would he go back and tell that young 20-year-old stud? What advice would he give him?
Brother, it ain't about the road you travel, it's about how many miles you go, brother. You're going to pick up a lot of rats, pick up a lot of roaches.
And a lot of rigs.
You leave with your balls intact in your memories, you won.
That's it, huh? I do remember Big Chris Stud saying it's not, we're not here for a long time, we're here for a
good time, brother.
And I think that about sums it up. Big Chris Stud, Chris Clem, thank you for jumping on the podcast again. It was fun to have you. Like I said, the door is always open. Anytime you get another novelty calves or any other bottle of wine.
The hard part is it's like now, like it's open, so I have to drink this quick before it goes bad.
Or it gets oxidated.
Yeah, and there's how much left in there? Okay, so it's like every day this week I'm gonna have to have a glass of wine. And I know my rule is not to drink when I work out. And it's like, okay, so I have this wine that's open. Tuesday is Stone Cold Day, so I got to have a Broken Skull IPA. And Wednesday St. Patrick's Day, and
Yeah.
I got some smuggled to California Conway's Irish ales. So I've been saving
Ooh.
those for a while.
Well, right on, brother. But I don't think did you even tell me how that tasted? How was that?
It was
it
good. I don't know anything about wine,
Okay.
but you
But
know,
it's good.
Austin Carr can pick some good shit.
Yes, he can. He loves DiGiorno pizza too. I'm going to get a bottle myself, and I'm going to have that on. And how about we'll do this? The next time you come in, I'm going to get a bottle myself, and we'll drink it together next time. All right, whether in
Sounds
person or via Zoom. Thanks again, brother. You are a legend.
Waiting for you to come out when we go and hit up Muscle Beach, brother.
Oh my God, I'm getting excited.
Once they reopen, you better get on the plane.
I'm getting excited. Hey, but yes, great to see you. You're going to be a dad soon. We didn't even touch on that again.
2 months, buddy.
2 months. That's exciting. Good luck. Tell Kristen said, hey, love you guys.
She said hi. Yes.
Yeah.
She said to tell you that, but I figured we'd be done recording. You got to go. So I'll tell you now.
All right, brother. Love you, man. Take care. All right.